Hello everyone, 31st episode is here. Kansas City Chiefs not being able to hold onto their crown, not being able to repeat, but they got goddamn close. So today's episode is going to be all about how the Chiefs got so close to repeat, how is their future going to look like, and where they are heading. With no further ado, let's start by reviewing their 2024 draft. And the draft started with Xavier Worthy. Um, this is like once that I really kind of not necessarily like went off the rail in terms of how I grade my draft picks. Hello, cat. Say hello. Say hi. Yeah. Sorry guys, she's shy. Okay, back to Xavier. This was like one time where I really kind of went off the rails in terms of, well, I didn't necessarily had him as a first round draft pick in terms of like a certain lock. Probably like mid second was kind of where I had him in terms of where he's supposed to go. But I was like, well, there is a ton of history in terms of Chiefs trading with the Bills, and also in terms of what I am entrusting this Chiefs operation being able to do with him, that I was like, okay, I kind of give them benefit of the doubt and went A- for it. And I feel like that's kind of the grade that should stand after year one. Worthy was not necessarily exceptional, especially like first half of the year. He had a slow start. Like he started with like 2 touchdown game, and then everybody was like, yeah, he's going to be next great thing. But if you looked at those touchdowns, it was like, not necessarily him showing super skill set beside his speed. But I think second part of the year he showed much more of a round running, being able to get open not only just by his speed but using even the threat of the speed, and really developed into a nice wide receiver. Again, there were high rises even in this draft, but he was a very solid pick for them, and A- I feel holds value after year one as well. So quite a good pick, and as it kind of was written in the stars, one of his best games came against the Bills in the playoffs. He helped Chiefs to eliminate Bills, and again, Chiefs traded up with the Bills to get him. So, I mean, we knew it, Bills. Everybody knew it. Somehow, some way, you did it again. Okay. Now towards their second pick, here, let's face it, that was bad. That was really bad. It was bad to a degree that I think whether they were like worried about like Patrick Mahomes' safety even, or just like how much this can get off the handle, because they started with Kingsley, and like his pass pro was like dreadful. Like Patrick Mahomes, he just didn't stand a chance. So they really abandoned that very quickly. They were looking for ways to replace him, whether it was through Vanya Morris, which was like their guy, or they were bringing veterans trying to fill the gap, like DJ Humphries, but he went down after game one, and it kind of ended up in their playoff run, in which they like made Joe Tooney to play left tackle instead of left guard. So this pick not working out either one. I think you can really pinpoint a lot of issues that led to them not repeating. So that kind of is going to be what's going to be over the head of Kingsley. And needless to say, year one, A grade definitely doesn't look good for me. Can he still turn us around? I mean, yes, of course. That will be. I mean, I guess that will be always the case for like even guys that I call draft blunder after year one. Like he can turn it around, but like the added, like the added cloud of how bad he looked, and like they needed to really shift the offense really around to just fill that hole that he was supposed to fill, which was part of the reason that caused them Super Bowl. That will be hanging over his head every time he is going to step into the field. So I think his path to success is actually not going to be easy. And I'm not saying they are done with him, but it's tougher situation, one of the toughest situations to overcome in my opinion. So that was brutally bad. It was brutally bad. Let's be honest. But they were able to, got some other picks that went in their favor, and not luckily, but at least on this one, I was really right. I had Jaden Hicks as like definitely a guy that should go third round at worst. They got him at the end of the fourth round, and he pretty much stepped in, was able to play, and I think after year one, he kind of showed that he can be a starter for this team. They turned to him more in like second part of the year as like a full-time starter. He was playing like pretty much since week one, but it was like around 10 snaps a game as kind of a dime back in some packages. But his usage went up, and he definitely showed why. If this was a full season worth of snaps and he would play like that, he would definitely elevate even more. Though on this type of snaps, this is a great uprise for this guy, and great for the Chiefs that I believe that they have found safety for the future for 3 years next, that he's going to be cheap, and probably lets them to move on Jimmy Ward in the offseason. Okay, now let's shift towards some of the undrafted guys that they were able to find this year. Carson Steele and Christian R. Wallace. Carson was obviously like a bigger story. Both of these guys were like solid, okay, not necessarily something special. I think with Christian, I will need to rewatch some of his film, because like when I like was looking at it at first glance, I felt like I kind of lost him, like in terms of when I was watching Chiefs games. Did I really pay attention to Christian? Not really. With Carson, obviously, because as a running back, he gets the ball much more often than a corner. We do pay more attention. So I think Christian might be one of the like low-hanging fruit guys that I need to take care of in terms of summer series and potentially raise him towards a good backup. But we will see where he lands on my grades. So guys, if I'm turning around, my cat is having a little bit of tantrum because she got just 10 minutes of scratching her back. I mean, I know I should be arrested by the police, as they say. Okay, let's move forward to other guys that did not necessarily get too much of a playing time. With Jared Wiley, the situation for him is, this is always going to be a guy that they want to turn to, but not a year one. Like, you have Noah Gray, you obviously have Travis Kelce. If both of these guys are healthy, which was the case for this year, there was never too much of an opportunity for him. He played just under 100 snaps. Didn't really showcase anything that would like make them try to really incorporate him as early into the process. So I don't think there is anything bad with him. It's just it wasn't his time. With Hunter, that's could be a little bit worrying that they didn't turn to him after they moved Joe Tooney towards left tackle, but really nothing that should scare you. We will see if he gets an opportunity in terms of the interior in the next year when they let go Joe Tooney. Kamal Hayden, CJ Hansen, I really don't have too much to say about these two. So overall, when you look at the draft haul for the Chiefs, year one, I mean, it's not as good as some of their past drafts in which they absolutely stole the show and kind of had so many great picks that made the whole league look like fools, because with them winning Super Bowls and having great draft, it should not be kind of possible. This year, it just looks like a very solid draft from which they got kind of two starters, but obviously one glaring weakness of this draft is going to be Kingsley and whether he can turn this around, because they kind of need him too. Otherwise, he's like a wasted second round pick. And for all of the things that this team is doing super well, tackles, this is just not one of them. Whether it's developing them or even signing free agents, as we will see later. With that being said, let's move towards the roster breakdown for 2024. Okay, so we start with Pat Mahomes. What to say about that? Like, he is definitely not losing his elite status, but I would say he's lost his GOAT-like status. Or like last year, one of my sentences about the Chiefs is like, is it time to talk about him in terms of GOAT conversation? I think after the season, the talk will slow down on him. He kind of showed that he is human after all, that he can, again, it was second time when he looked poorly in Super Bowl. And I think that's going to be something that a lot of people will hold against him. But to be fair with Patrick, it's like when you see how poorly the O-line performed in the Super Bowl, that Travis Kelce, who is obviously the biggest chemistry guy with Pat Mahomes and used to be the best tight end in the league, looked dreadful in the game. You kind of do give Patrick some of the pass. I'm not saying all of the pass, but I feel like the conversation will be too much driven by, I wouldn't say hate toward Patrick, but definitely Chiefs have more haters than fans, I would say. And the narrative would be just shifted because of that. What I want to give Patrick credit for is there has been an unbelievable, and I think the streak still is valid, when the game is about one possession, like that's the difference in the score. Chiefs are like 20 in a row, and you cannot do that if you don't have the clutchest or one of the clutchest QB ever. A lot of the times this year, the team didn't look good, Pat Mahomes didn't look good, and they were able to deliver. Whether it was like Pat throwing the touchdown, running for a touchdown, generating some weird penalties, if we want to call it, or through the defense, because Chiefs really kind of under the radar became much, I would say, better defensive team than they are offensive team, like low-key. But you can do that when you have Pat Mahomes and you are like, okay, if it's 17-17 and we are entering fourth quarter, this guy will deliver, and it still holds true to this day. But definitely this is like, it's clear that Patrick is the best QB in the league. I don't think it's as clear right now. That being said, like he is still incredibly good. In terms of running backs, yet another room that you can kind of give Patrick a little bit of pass because Isaiah Pacheco was injured for most of the year. When he came back, he just didn't look like Isaiah Pacheco from last 2 years when he was his running style was described as punishing the ground, really shit ton of energy, shit ton of juice. That just wasn't him in 2024. I feel like he will get back to his old form, and he kind of needs to if he wants to get a really nice payday after next season. So huge year, low-key for Isaiah Pacheco. With him going down, they kind of went on the market and brought, guys, what is going on? They brought Kareem Hunt, not necessarily out of retirement, but really from semi-retirement, let's put it this way. And to be honest, I was heavily impressed with Kareem Hunt. Obviously with his off-field issues, he's not a guy I'm necessarily rooting for, but I think he was very impressive with how he was able to kind of deliver out of nowhere for this team. So I don't want to say that he low-key saved them the season, but I'm not sure if they are in a Super Bowl without Kareem Hunt. So that's actually a big praise for Kareem. They went and they had another two running backs. Well, with Samaje Perine, he's third down back. He's a guy that you look towards passing the ball, running rather than him rushing the football, rushing with it. But he was, again, solid. Carson Steele, we already talked about, solid UDFA pickup. But none of those guys are actually great. Like Pacheco this year, not really. Kareem Hunt, there was a reason why he was available and nobody was picking him up. Samaja, he's not a first or second down back, and Carson Steele, again, undrafted running back. What you don't really get to hit too often on those guys in terms of greatness. So this room was definitely, especially given how good the O-line is, and we will talk about them, especially in terms of run blocking, underwhelming to say at least. And it was largely due to injuries to Isaiah Pacheco and him not looking the same after he came back. And injuries were actually kind of something that was a part of the Chiefs season for a long time, but then they kind of almost all got healthy for the Super Bowl, because they obviously lost Rashee Rice for the majority of the season. The same with Marquise Brown. And suddenly it was supposed to be about Xavier Worthy as their leading wide receiver. And that's where first 8 to 10 games of the season, he was a little bit underwhelming because the opportunity was there, but he was not ready to become that alpha, that really top guy. I feel like with Marquise Brown getting into the mix, them acquiring DeAndre Hopkins, he got more confidence. There was less defensive eyes on him, and he definitely delivered. With Rashee and Marquise, I don't really have too much to say. Rashee, he looked really good, but really went down super early. With Marquise, again, kind of the same, but in reverse. He looked solid when he came back. With Xavier, the problem is right now he has a lot of off-field issues at this point with his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. We will see how that plays out, but not necessarily a great look. We will see where it's going to lead, whether Xavier will be ready to start next season. They also were kind of relying on, guys that an ideal team would be, and therefore and fifth, behind these two. I don't have D-Hop's numbers here. I'm sorry for that, guys. But did he play significant enough role? Perhaps he should have been here for some of the trades mid-season when I didn't really feel like the impact was super there. I didn't add them in. So with Juju and Justin Watson, they are solid as number 4, number 5 piece. I think Juju's potential to be even good number 2 is far gone. At this point, he's much more a name than a great wide receiver, which, after 2 years in the league, that was the hope, but that's 6 seasons ago. Justin Watson, kind of a solid piece, but again, not a guy that you want to be your starter in playoffs or whatnot. So yet another unit that perhaps for Super Bowl you watch this and you see Xavier Worthy, you see D-Hop, you see Marquise Brown back, and you feel okay, that's good. But for majority of the season it was mostly Xavier Worthy. Then they kind of added D-Hop, some games from Rashee, some games from Marquise. They were depleted with injuries, not necessarily for the end part of the season, which is obviously great if you get there, but low-key some of the numbers for Patrick and this whole offense were definitely brought down by the absences that they endured during the season. Now, tight ends. We start with Travis Kelce, and when I was making his card, I felt maybe it's going to be controversial that I lowered him from an elite starter. But when I thought of it, I'm it cannot be controversial, can it? I mean, perhaps 50s, if anyone, someone like that watches me, they would feel oh, this guy's still elite. No, not really. Not really. He just wasn't in that category this year, and it was far from that. And what he showed in the Super Bowl. I mean, it was hard to watch. Obviously, the one play that's going to be all over the internet and kind of on everybody's mind is when Patrick is scrambling, which is kind of where they are the most lethal. and he just stands there and doesn't do anything for another 5 seconds, in which Patrick is trying to escape and trying to find him, and he's like, yeah, where's the next play? Like, sorry, Travis, like, it looked like that, truth to be told. Like, he just got entangled with, I don't know, his DB or defensive lineman, and after that, like, well, I'm just standing here. Like, that was not a great look. He definitely did not look like a leader in that Super Bowl. And, like, his effectiveness this year was just out of the window compared to his past. Again, is he still great tight end at this point? Most likely. Like, was he playing as, like, I would say, like, this year he would be between the 10th and 15th best tight end in the league based on how he played. So it's still really good, and I still have tremendous respect. He's future Hall of Famer, everything like that. Like, that doesn't go away. But it kind of starts to feel like some of the last years of Gronk, where, like, it suddenly went like this. Gronk was able to kind of revitalize it with the Bucks, so we'll see. Because Travis supposedly is going to continue with the career, so we'll see where he's going to reappear next season. But for what he put up this year, he needed to go down. And we talk about it with Jared Wiley, that they are kind of prepping themselves towards an availability that Travis Kelce will eventually retire. I feel like they were kind of ready if he announced retirement even after 2024, because they paid, like, not great amount of money, but, like, for a tight end and a guy that could be for a couple of years tight end to serious amount of money, 3 year, 18 million, like, solid money for Noah Gray. And I feel like when you were watching him out there compared to Travis Kelce, there were definitely some games in which he looked better than Travis. Like, is he better? No. But he definitely looked like a guy that, if Travis retired, they would be okay turning towards Noah and trusting him with the tight end one job. And we talk about Jared Wiley, that he would probably immediately kind of step into tight end 2 role. And obviously, you are degrading the room, but it's not like it's become a useless room at any capacity, because Noah, really, really nice tight end. This was kind of his best year, I would say, but the writing was on the wall. Oh, no, maybe even on the ball, but on the wall as well for him. Like, he's ascending, and really feels like, whether it's due to Travis or some other coaches here, he's really developing very, very nicely. Now let's shift towards offensive line. And when you look at this trio, I call them the best interior trio, and I will stand by that even after the season. You have the best center in the league in Creed Humphrey. That, like, I love Frank Gregno. I love his leadership, how he played through injuries in 2023 playoffs was impeccable. But Creed Humphrey is the best center in the league. That they are both elite. It might great, but Creed is the best, and he was like, like, the crazy thing is, like, he stepped into the league and pretty much year one was like, okay, at least I should be in top 3 conversation, and pretty much he never fall out of it. Like, 4 years in the league, not to put, like, too much on PFF grades, but I think offensive line is one of their better grades that they do. But overall, he has 91.8, 89.9. Then there was a huge down year last season in 81.4, like, a huge down year. He was just 4th in terms of PFF grades for center, and this year 92.4. Over 90 in run blocking, over 90 in pass pro. Like, what a menace this guy is. And when I said that they made League look like a fool, they drafted him in the back end of the 2nd round. This guy is the 63rd pick of the draft. Yeah. And, Trey Smith. Again, guy that kind of stepped in. In his case, it was not, I'm top 3 guard. In his case, it was like, well, I'm top 15 guard. Then it's like, I'm top 10 guard. And I feel like he's kind of at that level continuously after 4 years. He didn't necessarily ascend to the best of the best, but he's I think he still could be on this trajectory. He's still just 25 years old. And you got him in the 6th round. Guy that should have never been out there in the 6th round, and Chiefs just snatch him and make him one of the greatest. He was the guy that could have hit free agency, but they franchise tag him. It seems like he's going to play under the tag, and I'm not surprised that they really kind of look around the money how to bring him forward. Joe Thuney, I have massive respect for Joe Thuney for what he's been able to do. He's still one of the best guards in the league. I think that's for sure. And the fact that they even moved him towards tackle and he was able to hold his own there, obviously with the exception of the Eagles game, in which I don't want to be overly negative, but they made him look average, which happens when you meet defensive line of the Eagles. It happens quite a lot. But it was on position that he's not used to play whatsoever. There is huge differences between playing a tackle and playing a guard. Where it's angles, where it's double teams, etc., etc. Huge kudos to him. This is his 9th season or 10th. He almost never misses games. One of the league's best, and still, when you look at this trio, how can you not say that this is the best interior trio in the league? But when you have great interior, but your tackles are poor, it can look bad. And unfortunately for them, we already talked about Kingsley, who's going to be on the next slide, but neither their second tackle necessarily develops and delivers. Jawan Taylor, their huge acquisition, I think it was 3 years ago when I signed him, or 2. 2 years ago when I signed him for 4 years, 80 million. And he just didn't work out, let's be fair. I think that if there was less amount of dead cap than it is on his contract, he would have been cut. I feel like that's most likely his destiny for next year, and where they could find 20 millions that they will save on Jawan if they cut him next year to pay Trey Smith. Is he unplayable? No. But is he 20 million per year worth right tackle? Hell no. He's around 20th, 18th, something like that, best right tackle. And I feel like even that is a little bit favorable towards him, because I feel like if you really watch his snaps, he is for starting kind of every other one. And it's the referees kind of, sometimes they call it, but I don't think they are calling it as much as it actually really happens. So he clearly has problems with his foot technique, because that's why he needs to kind of give himself this jump start. He improved on that a little bit this season, but it was still absolutely not good. So unfortunately, for everything almost that this franchise is doing great, tackles are not one of that. Huge acquisition doesn't work out. I feel like if he doesn't take a huge step forward, he's gone after next season. And we already talked about Kingsley. They tried to bandage the situation after Kingsley with Vanya Morris, but he is not even he is not one of the 32 best left tackles in the league. And for as much as I'm almost joking about it when I say there is so many great left tackles in the league, if you don't have one that is at least good, you have a freaking problem, as Chiefs have learned this season, unfortunately for them. Kingsley, and they, at the end of the day, when they turned to Joe Thuney, they put Mike Caliendo out there. Clearly, they were kind of desperate. Mike was not great when he was out there. Let's face it. You don't expect him to be great, so I don't want to throw shades at him. But this is a guy that was starting, and I think he was starting in the Super Bowl, if I'm not hugely mistaken. Right? Yeah, he was starting the Super Bowl. Just to give you guys a little bit of sneak peek, 32.0 in terms of his grade for Super Bowl. So yeah, Jalen Carter kind of had a go with him. So that was a Chiefs offense that on a lot of things was underwhelming. I feel like for passing game, when you don't have tackles, it's a huge issue, especially when your primary weapons goes down, where you're the best player on that offense beside the QB is kind of playing well below his standard, and your running game that should be able to use the trio that you have in Smith, Creed, and Joe Tooney was unfortunately kind of Isaiah Pacheco or nothing. They got some production from like Kareem Hunt and Carson Steele, but they really relied on Pacheco in the last 2 years, and he just was not able to deliver this year due to injury. So really kind of underwhelming offense, but when you look at the reasons why, you kind of see why. You kind of see that this was kind of as expected. Like, it's that. Now let's shift towards defensive side of the ball, and we start with the edge group. And George Karlaftis steadily climbs the rankings, steadily like improves year after year. Like, would I call him a 1 in terms of edge? No. Does he need to be 1? No, because they have Chris Jones. But he's another guy that they've drafted in the back end of the first round. And in 3 years, I think he developed into very, very solid player. The guy that if you have Chris Jones and George Karlaftis is kind of your second most dangerous pass rusher, you definitely can live with that. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, another first round pick that they are trying to invest in this group. Unfortunately, the returns for him are kind of meh for his second year as well. So we will see if he is able to step it up, because they definitely will need him to do so, because they will most likely lose a lot of their like rotational pieces and will expect him to carve up a bigger role within this defensive line next season. Charles Omenihu, kind of solid player that, this is functional. They kind of went with the approach, well, there is Chris Jones. We need some guy that can help him and be a nuisance and be like a positive, which is George Karlaftis. And then we have a bunch of role players, a bunch of guys that are solid enough, then we will rotate through them, but none of them are necessarily like dominating or like even like causing a constant headache for offensive coordinators. You can say that about Joshua Uche, who was not able to like resurrect his career here, and I think like decent start might be like too much for him. Derek Nnadi, Mike Dana, like these guys are like solid pieces, but definitely not guys that, like, for example, if Chris Jones goes down, I feel like this defensive line is in huge trouble. Like, they really freaking need him, and there is it was kind of proved that when he like went on hold, and the thinking was like similar with like Bengals and Trey Hendrickson. It's like they probably will move from him, and then he came back, got massive contract. They cannot freaking lose him. Like they are built in a way that like they need this massive hammer, this constant pressure guy. Otherwise, like there is just nothing that you can really count on beside George Karlaftis. So here he is, one of the best defensive linemen in the league. It's absolutely clear. It's really interesting how they started to use him even more as an edge guy. Like they are rotating him all over the line. Steve Spagnuolo have his fun with him, and I feel like Chris Jones definitely likes that. They really are making it so he doesn't have to like spend too much of his stamina for run defense and can focus on rushing the passer, but like he is great in both phases. One guy that I really want to focus my efforts in the offseason is Tershawn Wharton, because like beside Chris Jones and George, like I felt like I didn't really notice him too much, But then I look at his production and look at, even grades, and then I see like how he's kind of interesting free agent out there, though like it's not a great defensive tackle free agency. So that's part of it. And I'm like, did I miss something? And I feel like I probably did. So I will definitely need to come and cover him more closer with my summer series. But overall, if you look at this group, there is a lot of guys that are solid, but they are sort of rotational / number 3 pieces in really good D-lines. Here, most of them, not most of them, like they are kind of asked to be number 2 depending on the situation. And this is all possible because of the presence of Chris Jones. Like, he elevates this defensive line from very problematic. I mean, without him, I would say there's probably like 5 defensive line that are worse than this. He just elevates them towards like middle of the pack. That's the power of one superstar. And like it reminds me kind of offensive line of San Francisco before Dominic Puni arrived this season, where they got another great piece next to Trenton Williams. Like I knew Williams, but I was Tershawn something Trenton. Yeah, of course. Without Trenton Williams, like they have a bunch of guys, and then there is this massive superstar that makes it all like look very solid. It's really similar here with the D-line, and I think the other guy that makes it happen is obviously Steve Spagnuolo, who is able to like take these 7 guys that you don't even know about too much, and he just puts them towards a position when they can be the best versions of themselves and help this D-line to be solid. Where this team has huge strength, it's with one of the best linebacker room in the league, definitely the most complete one, because having Leo Chanel as your linebacker 3 is just luxury that nobody else has. And he again continues to show that he is exceptional, but like one thing that I'm not like super certain about in terms of how they are approaching this, like they have not unleashed him yet. He still plays just half of the downs, and it's like weird because if I were the Chiefs, like it's a great luxury to have him kind of only playing half of the snaps and kind of paying 2 other linebackers, which they did because they brought Nick Bolton back. And I understand Nick Bolton is a great player, though he had a little bit of a down year, but still I think he's great linebacker next to the Duncan. Like, I have tremendous respect for this linebacker trio, but I feel like Leo Chanel is kind of a guy that could have the most upside out of them. Yet, after 3 years, he has like around 1,000 snaps in the league. And are they going to pay him after they paid Nick Bolton, or are they letting him out of this building? Because neither of these options seems right. So I really wonder what's going to happen. It's huge luxury. They probably will have to make some hard decisions, and with Nick Bolton coming back, they perhaps have made it. And it could really be a huge chance for other team to go and try to snatch up Leo Chanel next offseason. And for a guy that at that point might have like 1,500 snaps in the NFL, he might get great back. Like when you watch this guy play, it's fantastic. The thing is, you want more of it, and Specs doesn't give you more. So we will see. Perhaps they will let Drew Tranquil go. He has 2 more years of his contract, and they could cut him after next year. But like his contract is super valuable. Like that's 3 years, 19 millions, and he's definitely outplaying that. So with the Chiefs cap situation, will they really let Leo Chanel go? We will see. But definitely the linebacker trio that combined is like the most deepest room in terms of quality, and in terms of like they don't have Fred Warner here, but easily like top 5 linebacker room in the league. And what a year for veteran Justin Reed it was. Like, he looked the best he ever did. Is it daring to say this? I actually don't think so. Like, this was a special year for Justin Reed. And kind of recovery of what he was when he started the career, because like his first 2 years in the league, like he looked special. He looked like one of the ascending safeties, like similar to like Minka and guys like that. Not necessarily probably on that level, but definitely a guy that could compete for like the top 10 safeties in the league. And then for a couple of years, he just kind of was out there, was playing solid. But this year, he just unleashed it. And he definitely made it hard for Chiefs to bring him back, because he ain't going to be cheap on the market. Luckily for them, they hit on Jaden Hicks, who, like I said, they were turning towards him on second part of the year, and he delivered. Brian Cook, their third safety that also played over 1,000 snaps, that was his third year, and for a second round pick, you would like to see more of him. Not in terms of like how many snaps he's playing, because he's playing almost too much for how he looks out there. Like, he had kind of meh first year, then it was like ascending in 2023, just to come down for this year. And he was a problem in coverage. Like, they will probably choose to go without Justin Reed going forward, because when you are a successful team, it comes with losing great players. I think Eagles going to feel it, 49ers are going to feel it in the free agency, and to the part Chiefs as well. So, we might be looking at the new duo and Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook, and it's kind of, you have more faith in this year's rookie, Jaden Hicks, than in Brian Cook, despite their draft pedigree and despite their experience. Obviously, with Jaden, it's just under 500 snaps, so this could low-key be a problem for the Chiefs, if they let go Justin Reed and Brian Cook continues this not improving or slightly declining, and Jaden Hicks just cannot handle the full pressure of a starter. So, kind of interesting situation to monitor, whether they will kind of make some type of veteran signing for this room, or whether they even look at some of the safeties in this draft and think about Brian Cook as backup potentially for next year, and kind of letting him go after that. I'm not sure that they have a great amount of faith for his future. But now we move towards the secondary, and they've lost L'Jarius Sneed before the year, and it was just I wouldn't say blessing, because L'Jarius Sneed, I still feel like he will recover and he will be a great player for the Titans, but it just allowed other guys to step it up behind Trent McDuffie. And it also allowed Trent McDuffie to really shine absolutely properly. So Trent, welcome to an elite starter club. You were freaking awesome. You can hear me out, but I think you should really listen to some of the podcasts from John Gruden, where he really raves about Trent McDuffie. He is, what I will say about Trent, I think because he plays on Chiefs, and when you think about Chiefs defense, it's Chris Jones, then it's Steve Spagnuolo most likely. And when you think about Chiefs overall, it's Pat Mahomes, it's Travis Kelce, it's Andy Reid. That he's kind of in the shadow of these guys, and absolutely unrightfully so, because ever since this guy stepped into the league, he was great, and year after year he gets better and better, and he is a top 5 corner in the league. I am confident with that, and I like Spoon. I like Devon Witherspoon, but I would take Trent McDuffie over him. And his 3 years in the league, he absolutely proved himself. There is, in that area of last 2 and 3 years, the amount of great corners that arrived in NFL, Derek Stingley, Pat Surtain, Sauce Gardner, Devin Witherspoon, Trent McDuffie, and they just took freaking over of this position. Like, it's impressive and it's so much fun. And this is yet another guy that rarely misses a game. He plays hard, he puts his body out there. But yeah, like, watch him, man. Like, it's such a pleasant. You might look at production, like just 2 interceptions. I mean, guys are really scared to throw at him. Like, that's kind of reason why he doesn't have much more than that. Jalen Watson, I think he continues to be a very solid player, guy that they have found in 7th round. Great job. Pretty much since his first year, he kind of stepped in and was solid for them. This was the year that he got like a full-time starting job, went down with an injury, but came back for the playoffs. And he continues to be a very solid number 2 next to Trent McDuffie. And then there is Chamari Connor, a guy that they have found in 4th round. And he had very nice rookie year. Was probably one of the reasons why they were like cool letting L'Jarius Sneed go. He's slot, like most of the times. He sometimes play in free safety, even in box. So he's kind of chess piece, just as Trent McDuffie is. Like, Steve has a lot of fun with these guys, like moving them around. And obviously, like, when you have Trent McDuffie and he can play, he's definitely one of the best outside corners, but he can play as a slot. Like, that gives you the ability to kind of push around the pieces as much as you like. So that's his huge selling point as well. So overall, this cornerback room, despite like, I dare you, listeners, like, how much do you know about Jalen Watson and Chamari Connor? I don't think there is too much knowledge about these 2 guys. And I think, like, even with Trent McDuffie, you could look at an elite starter next to his name and be like, what? Watch these guys. Like, I encourage you to do so. They are freaking awesome. And, one of the rarely discussed trio that combine, it's like top 7th corner room in the league, perhaps top 5. Yeah, surprise for you. Watch them. I dare you, watcher, I dare you, listener, and especially Trent McDuffie. Like, this guy is so much fun to watch. With that being said, we kind of do we have another? Yeah, we have kind of the guys that were rotating in, especially with Jalen Watson going down. They needed to step with someone. It was mostly Najee Johnson, which was a bit surprising because Joshua Williams was kind of yet another ascending guy that they have found in 4th round and was looking very good last year, but did not necessarily got as much opportunities as you would expect. So it was a little bit weird. We will see what is behind that. And even, I will spoil one of the off-season moves. They brought Christian Fulton here. So they might really be kind of done with Joshua Williams, which feels weird because whenever he's on the field, he looks very solid. So something to monitor, because suddenly, like, this group is just way too filled with great corners. It's like a weird sentence, but yeah, it can happen. Like, you can have too many good corners, I guess. With that being said, we run down this roster, and now let's hand out some rewards. For draft hit, at the end, I went for Xavier Worthy. I feel like there is definitely a case for Jaden Hicks. What pushed it towards Worthy was like he played the whole season, unlike Jaden Hicks. Both of them really feels like great picks at this point of time. Definitely 2 guys that I do expect to be starters next year. With Xavier Worthy, you obviously expect that sky could be the limit. Can he become, some diet version of Tyreek Hill? Perhaps, especially when there is like a lot of talk about Chiefs offense trying to open things up, really just being much more dynamic than they were in past couple of years. We will see how that's going to work out for them. Obviously, for Xavier, he needs to not face suspensions, because the allegations are pretty serious. So we will see how that goes. In terms of draft blunder, I don't want to bash Kingsley too much, but it was unwatchable. I mean, if you are a Chiefs hater and if you don't like Pat Mahomes, you definitely enjoyed Kingsley out there because I know, pretty much every 1 out of 3 snaps there was almost a free rusher just charging at Pat Mahomes and most likely sacking him or like pressuring him or hitting him. So for you probably enjoyed that. For the Chiefs fans and like for a guy that really felt like this was a good pick and roots for this guy, yeah, not so much. In terms of cornerstone of franchise, I actually didn't went for Patrick Mahomes because, like I said, this to me is an award who was kind of the best this year and it's like the most valuable player for them with like this combination of that. And I really feel like, obviously, like in terms of how much you value quarterback position, it would almost have to be quarterback. So that's why this award is not, this is not like an MVP award type of thing. A guy that had the best season was Chris Jones, in my opinion, and without him, I feel like this defense could slightly fall apart, especially the defensive line. So he absolutely allows them to get off with like not really having too much around him with that D-line. And he is one hell of a special player. In terms of unsung hero, I actually went for another elite player, which is a rarity. Perhaps even this is the first and only time when I actually put an elite starter towards this accolade. But to be honest, I really feel like Trent McDuffie is underrated in terms of general public. He doesn't get too much talking point. He just lets his play talk for himself. Just one thing, because this guy was not in Pro Bowl in 2025. This guy was not made into Pro Bowl. What is going on? Like, I do get you have Sauce, you have Patsertain, but he played better than Sauce this year. Like, you have Stingley, okay. Like, if you want to put Patsertain and Derek Stingley, okay, but then I will just give you guys who was there for the NFC. Just give me a second. Final rosters, okay. So Marlon Humphrey and Denzel Ward made it over Trent McDuffie. Really, guys. Okay, Pat Surtain and Derek Stingley. Okay, I take it. Fair. Like, Pat was Defensive Player of the Year, all right. Derek Stingley, exceptional season, okay. But Marlon Humphrey and Denzel Ward, are you freaking kidding me? Like, both of those guys are really great players. They are not better than Trent McDuffie. They didn't have a better season than Trent McDuffie. You could say, like, why should I even care, or why Trent should care? Like, this costs you actual money in terms of some of the bonuses, in terms of some of the future contracts. So it actually costs Trent McDuffie money, and that's where, like, if we are letting, the same with NBA All-Star, like, if these accolades have an impact on the contracts of these guys, it should not be voted like it is right now, because it's just a freaking joke, man. Like, Trent McDuffie not making it, like, go F yourself. Like, that's just stupid. Trent McDuffie should be a Pro Bowler. Like, what the hell, man. So at least, Trent, here you get my accolade. I know you are not going to buy for it anything, but at least here, boy oh boy, I do see you, I do hear you, you are super freaking great. In terms of flop, I went for Jamal Taylor because, like, I do understand that everybody's going to point out towards left tackle, but he continues to be super underwhelming for the money they paid him. And truth to be told, if the referees were a little bit more strict with him, I feel like he would have like 30 penalties, 35, because he adapted a little bit, but still, I don't think they are calling him 100, like, on even like 60% of the cases. Like, I think it's like 50-50 when they should have and when they actually are calling him on it. And even with disadvantage, that he kind of gets unfairly, quote unquote, because unless referee blows the whistle, it's like with corners and some of their pulls. Like, okay, it was a foul, yes, but they made it very the way that referee could not see it, and Javan perhaps the way that he's making it so often, it's like, okay, I guess I cannot call it every time. I don't know. Definitely for money that you are paying him, he is just not delivering. With that being said, let's take a look at where this franchise is overall. Andy Reid, A+, what else? There are some questions whether he's overpassing Bill Belichick as the best head coach in the history. I leave the talk to you guys. I don't have a strong opinion on this, and I always feel like with GOAT conversations and everything like that, it's fun topic for a beer discussion. You can get passionate about it. That's great, but if it goes towards hatred or something like that, I'm then it's not even worth to me having those debates, because how do you even compare him to guys 20 years ago? The league is different. It's just, to me it's a great topic to have conversation and to have passionate debates about. But if it grows into because this guy thinks Messi is better than Ronaldo and the other way around, I cannot talk to him about football, it's then it's stupid to me. So I leave you guys towards the discussions about Andy Reid. I definitely respect the hell out of him. In terms of 2024, it's an A-. Well, they got into the Super Bowl, right? They keep their great streak in terms of one score game, I believe. And they looked super great in, not super great, but they made it again. They've made it to Super Bowl. But what makes it a minus? Obviously, they lost the Super Bowl. Some of their players had fall from grace, more specifically Travis Kelce, but even Pacheco, to a degree, you can say the same slightly about Mahomes. And they didn't really get too much from their draft. In terms of their QB, it's 3 pluses. Again, if you are top 4 QB in the league, I kind of don't care how much you are paid. Or if you are not top 4, it's not about top 4, it's about eliteness, and all of these guys are just freaking elite. In terms of hot seat, you might wonder why there is a free. Hot seat to me is kind of how likely is this guy going to be out of the job for next season. And for Andy, I feel like it's not one, because he hinted potential retirements. That's the only reason why there is a free and not one, right? So this is not hot seat in terms of how much is there a chance that the general manager would fire him, or ownership would fire him. That would be zero. Andy Reid is just a freaking legend with the Chiefs, but it's all about will he want to coach after 2025. In terms of financials, they actually weren't that great entering the offseason. Some money has been tied to bad players. John Taylor, I'm looking at you. Also, they didn't necessarily have great rookie impacts in this year, so they didn't have guys to benefit from that, and your finances as well. And also with Travis Kelce, potentially that could also be potentially low-key called a bad contract, but it wasn't super bad. It was just not it's kind of alright, but more towards the worse side with some of the bad contracts and not a great rookie haul. The strength of this team, I went for coaches, because to me the duo of Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo is the best coaches duo out there in the league. And at this point, I don't think that's necessarily even close. The fact that they, Minnesota with O'Connell. Guys, me and names. Kevin O'Connell. Okay, Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores, they are kind of close, but I feel if there is ever a vote, these two guys combined are definitely the best duo in the league. And what a privilege for the Chiefs to have Spags, that he's kind of okay, just being defensive coordinator. It doesn't feel like he is out there looking for a head coaching job, which I think he would get if he wanted. That's great for the Chiefs. In terms of division, from their perspective, So you look at Chargers ascending, dangerous, but not really established top team. I would say the same thing about the Broncos. And for the Raiders, they are kind of like a lower tier team. But Broncos and Chargers both made the playoffs, so you cannot really underestimate them. In both of these cases, it was kind of like years they didn't necessarily was expected to. So it's not like super easy situation. It's still a plus, I would say, from their side, but nothing to be super like easy about it. They are going to win this division, and it's just the gimme. No way. So with that being said, let's take a look at how they could look for 2025. Obviously, with free agency, as I'm speaking, being on their way, you will get my ideas and my thoughts on how the free agency went. So this was pre-free agency, how I envisioned it. I felt like they would try Kingsley as a left tackle. They would keep Joe Thuney and probably let go Trey Smith. And most likely, I was actually expecting him to franchise tag them. They are expecting them to franchise tag him, but then they would trade him. They, sneak peek, they kind of went the other way and traded Joe Thuney, which to me, I could have, I understand it. I probably would went with Trey Smith because I could get much more from him. And in terms of quality right now, I feel like they are kind of on the same level. And I really would like to use 2025 still as the window I'm really trying to go for it. John Taylor, like I said, I'm not happy that he's my right tackle, but I'm paying him way too much money to find a replacement and for this year. But for next year, I think he's gone. In terms of their playmakers, I definitely feel like with Noah Gray really ascending to be really great tight end, they might have looked towards playing more with two tight ends, with him and Kelsey, with Orfia and Rice. It could work with Pacheco. Again, sneak peek, they kind of went with much more wide receiver approach. We will see how that works for them. In terms of backups, Vanya Morris, Mike Caliendo, they've played. They were kind of they could be kind of cheap pieces to bring back. Not really some guys that I was super happy with. With Vanya, he's obviously just in his second year, so he could be really cheaply back. The same for Mike Caliendo. So with the money being quite tight, those guys got opportunities. I mean, they didn't really look great, but sometimes you have to live with a little bit of danger and have these guys as your backups. So that was my thought, at least. I definitely expect them to bring Kareem Hunt back because with Pacheco, he can ease off some of the load from Isaiah and really be the guy that's going to be there for tough downs. Putting his body in danger and, kind of keeping Pacheco more fresh. So we will see how that's going to end up. In terms of defense, I feel like Karlaftis and Chris Jones are the two clear pieces that you have. And I do expect them with, limited cap space to perhaps give a chance to Uzomah to really secure his number edge position. In terms of other guys, it's really hard to predict who's going to be playing next to Chris Jones. In terms of linebackers, I thought that they would let Nick Bolton go and really went with Leo Chanel and Drew Tranquil. As I said, that did not necessarily happen. With the secondary, you are kind of, with Joshua Williams, he's kind of the one piece that I am not necessarily certain that they would continue with. It really feels like he kind of fell off some graces. We will see about that. But to me, every time he stepped in, he was damn solid. I said I would prefer Jaden Hicks over Brian Cook, but with potentially this room being filled, there is definitely chances that some great safety, even Malachi Starks could fall into their lap. There was some mock drafts in which Malachi Starks was falling towards the end of the first round. So with that being said, perhaps they would go for more experienced option with Cook. In terms of corners, I felt like they are clear on Shamari Conner, Jalen Watson, and Shannon McDuffie. Perhaps I was wrong as I look at free agency. In terms of backups, the only guys that I was kind of certain that they would be in the rotation was Jaden Hicks and Mike Dana. Other guys, like I really expected them to let go of Nick Bolton, so these guys would be like filled out of free agents or draft takes and kind of fill out from that. They had other ideas, but you will hear about that in free agency special that is going to start at, I would say, start of the April. There will be episodes, every other day, perhaps every day, leading you towards the draft per division. We will look at the free agency of the teams, where the roster is after that, how I like the moves, how I dislike the moves, and you will also get my mock draft for that team based on where they are post-free agency. So look forward to that. There is a lot more content for you guys coming. And with that being said, it's all over for the Chiefs. It's not all over for the Chiefs, is it? They will be dangerous. They will be dangerous next season. For sure. They will want revenge. But will they be able to? Will they again beat the Bills by an inch? We will see. Till then, have a nice day. Next time, we will have Philadelphia Eagles, the last episode of the series. It's been one hell of a ride. Thank you for sharing it with me, and bye. Bye.